Hey y'all, I got a movie review to talk about. I saw this movie called Starve. Now, there will be spoilers, and before I start talking about it, I'll give you a little rundown for those of you that may not be familiar with this kind of thing. You know, when they did have red boxes or blockbusters or anything like that, and you'd go to rent a movie, and especially if you went to check out a horror movie and you went in that section and you saw a bunch of movies, because you'd have your Freddy Kruegers and your Jasons and stuff like that with the professional stuff. Then you'd have the stuff that looked like Jim Bob and Joe Bob went out in their backyard with a couple of bucks and threw on a Halloween mask. Cheap stuff, you know. You don't know any actors in it necessarily, and the whole process looks cheap, but it looks like something that's like, I'm gonna take it home and watch it anyway, right? Starve to me looked like at first glance it might be one of them cheap jobbers. And the cheap jobbers usually have nobody in there that you recognize at all. The acting is crap. The story is kind of like, okay, maybe one or two, creepy stuff. It's like, some of them are so bad they're good, but some of them are like, well, it was just a way to burn a Saturday night or something. Starve looked like it was one of those to me. But then I started watching it. Now, it's kind of like it is the cheap premise, kind of, but the acting was good. The acting was pretty darn good for what it was. And while it was kind of like one of them cheap jobbers, like I mentioned, there was still the majority of the actors I'd never heard of, except for one guy named Bobby Campo. Bobby Campo? Yeah, you heard of him if you saw The Final Destination. He was in that. You know, that last one, like right before Bloodlines. He was in there. And he did a good job. He played a comic book artist. The movie starts out, it's him, his sister, and his brother. They're in a car. They're going to a creepy town that he heard of that's supposed to have cannibals running around eating each other because the town got jacked up with sinkholes and methane gas and all kinds of stuff running crazy. And you got his girlfriend and his brother kind of looking at him going, do we really want to go there? You could have just read about this town on the internet with all of the tales in it. You're like, yeah, I really need a hit with my new graphic novel comic book because my last one has kind of run its course and we need more money. He goes, I want to get a sense of this place. We got to go there to do that. That kind of thing. And he's sitting there in the car with his doodle pad and stuff like that. And they show you the drawings, and they're pretty badass. They're creepy, got blood in them and everything, that kind of stuff. And they drive along and everything like that until they get to, because supposedly some of the people are still hanging around this town, but most of them left. They make it to the one and only diner in the whole town, which I have to wonder, why is there still a diner in business when 99% of the people are gone? But the plot needs it to happen, I guess. The chick in there that's the waitress, she's nice enough. They ask her about the sinkholes and stuff like that. She's like, oh, those are all tales. None of that's true. There's one guy eating in the diner. He's eating a hamburger. And then there's another one in there cooking. Pay attention to the guy eating a hamburger. He'll come back later. So they sit there and they look at each other and go, no, I don't think we really want to eat here. We just kind of want to get a bag of chips and be on our way. Check out the rest of the place. So they leave. They're driving some more. They go underneath an overpass. And a giant big ass rock goes right through their windshield. They look real fast. There's a creepy looking person running away. They say, oh, it's kids. So, long story short, they decide they'll take the rock out of the windshield, kick the windshield out, and then they got to find someplace to sleep for the night. They find a whole row of houses that everybody's abandoned. End up going in there. Of course, they were told by the guy in the diner, don't go in the houses. And don't go check out the high school that's up on the hill around there. Okay? Because they show you right in the beginning of the movie, there's a guy and a woman in a cage that's been made at one of the rooms in the high school, made into a cage. The guy kills the woman. And then they throw this guy a hamburger. I told you. But the guy later goes, don't go up to the high school. Where do you think they're going? They're going in the houses and they end up in the high school. You know that's going to happen. So, they end up staying in the house. The person who stole the car comes back, car's sitting there. Long story short, he overpowers them, takes them up to the high school. Now, the brother, in the meantime, has decided he's going to go walking because he don't want no part of this. He just wants to go off on his own to see if he can come out with, like, help for them, you know. They end up at the high school. They end up trapped. And there's a scenario going on in the high school where, like I said, the classrooms are made up in makeshift cages. There's a mysterious guy who calls himself the principal of the high school. Anybody that's dumb enough to wander through this town, they capture him and they throw him in one of these makeshift cages to try to fight each other. And basically the guy starves them long enough that they're going to go ahead and fight each other. And the winner gets like a burger or something to eat or something like that. And they all look like hell, man. It's like, oh, yeah, we ain't been in there long enough fighting on these people and stuff like that. And it's husbands and wives and this and that. So, our boy and his wife end up in the thing. They're both in different cages. And, of course, they're thrown in with different people. And they got to sit there and they're forced to kill him and stuff like that. Long story short, they get into a scenario where you find out later that the principal is the clown that was sitting in the diner eating a hamburger. He's just getting off on doing it to these people. Because the creepy person who was threw the rock through the windshield is his wife. Him, his wife, and his son got jacked up trying to leave the town. They got caught up in a sinkhole. The wife they got stuck in the car. Nobody knew they were in there. They had to eat their son. The wife got all nasty looking. And everybody left him. So he's pissed off about it. So he's going to take it out on anybody that comes through the town. Okay? Of course, our boy and his girl do escape. The brother's not so lucky. I won't ruin that for you. But the setup is low end, but it does have its moments. And like I told you, the acting is really good, which surprised the crap out of me. The thing that I didn't like was the ending. Okay? It's one of those ones that I've seen this in horror movies where the whole movie goes by. And I told you, supposedly there ain't nobody left in this town. But at the very end of the movie, right when him and his wife escape and get their revenge and kill the guy that was doing all this, the cops show up and the paramedics show up. They ain't been there no way, no how. You don't know where they came from. Like I said, nobody's left in this damn town, but they show up anyway. All in all, the movie's got some nice moments. You have to stretch your believability just a bit. But the acting is what sold me on it. Partially the premise. It's borderline as bad as one of those throw it in the VCR movies, like I told you, that would be in a red box, and not. I'm not going to call it sucky. I think that they did a good job. There's Bobby Campo as the lead. He was good. The chick playing his wife was good. Even the brother was good. Okay? There's another subplot in there with the chick that may or may not be a cop and how she gets dispensed with. Supposedly, you get the impression that she came looking for our protagonists, but it was like, that's not handled too great. Maybe she's got something to do with the cavalry at the end of the movie. I don't know. But if you're looking for a decent low budget horror movie, that the premise, but the acting, it's cheap, it's on Fossum, and I recommend it. So, for what that's worth. Anyway, I thank you very much for looking at this. If you haven't subbed to the channel, please do. Y'all take care, and I'll see you on the next one.